office and the town clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. First order of business, minutes for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Meeting mail, we have none. Next order of business is old business. And we're going to talk about P.J. Keating Company, 72 South Main Street. Discussion of the wetland site violations held on February 19, 2022. Discussions and revisions of the order of conditions on the file SE 0010558, review of the matters representative. And I'll let Pat start off the discussion.
So I know that we left off at the Council on Aging that Keating's attorney was going to reach out for the town's attorney and have something maybe for this meeting. I got a call from town council yesterday morning asking if we would continue this to the next scheduled meeting 2 weeks from now. I didn't think he had any problems, so I agreed to that. And they'll be in, and hopefully they'll bring us something substantive to look at and hopefully vote on.
Okay, sounds good to me. I'd like to see it resolved without having to do court actions and stuff like that.
That's everyone's intention.
Yeah. Okay, any other old business, anyone?
No.
No?
Okay, new business, do we have any?
None.
No new business,
No new filings today.
okay. Discussion, policy on buffer zone.
So my Adobe Acrobat editor is not working on my computer. Nick's on vacation from IT, so that'll be for the next meeting. We'll have it ready.
Okay. Stormwater,
I got the drafts of the stormwater bylaw revisions today from Conoco, and he's putting the finishing touches on it. We'll have it for our next meeting, and it's going to go in front of the bylaw review committee anyways. It's something that gets voted on at that town meeting. And then there's a stormwater regulation that that joins that. The bylaw sets out the basis of all of it and what gives us the authority and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also has required regulations we had to adopt. It had fees. We did that, I think, 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago. That finally happened. And there's some new changes that EPA required. We're changing the action level for a stormwater permit to disturb 40,000 square feet or more. However, for sites that have high impact, how you doing tonight? For sites that have high impact and increased levels of contamination and stuff, it stays at 5,000 square feet. That's what EPA wants. And as far as TSS removal, they bumped it from 80% up to 90% for the new regulations on new construction, and on repairs and redevelopment, it's left it to 80%. There's a requirement in the new regulation for infiltration tests so that we don't run into what we ran into at Wayne Lane where the groundwater, stormwater is not infiltrated. So now when someone wants to put in basins, they'll actually have to do an infiltration test and demonstrate that they're going to work. There's a tree protection part of it, of the regulation. That'll be something that you folks can decide whether you want to leave it in the regulation or not. It's not required by EPA. But the town is moving forward on a 6-month moratorium on solar fields because they're concerned about all the tree cutting and everything that's going on. This tree protection provision in the stormwater regulation protects trees with a 6-inch caliper or larger. And if you want to cut down a tree with a 6-inch caliper or larger, you either need to replace it with a non-invasive species or a native species somewhere else on the property, or you're going to pay money into a tree bank that the town will have. And that's That's how you discourage people from, just going up and cutting down 70 acres of trees to put in a solar field.
You don't need to do that for one tree though, right?
No, this is it's how it affects the stormwater.
Okay.
And they're trying to preserve all these trees and their root systems.
All right, so my other question is, who determines that the site is high risk and determines it from 40,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet?
Based on the activities. So someone's building a subdivision with 3 houses and a road. That wouldn't be a high-risk situation, but take something like Roughwell, where it's going to be a junkyard. That's a high-risk situation, and that stays at 5,000 square feet. So if someone's going to build a dismantling pad for junk cars, you certainly want to be able to regulate their stormwater situation. And that's something that EPA requires. Something we did add that wasn't there and has been causing a problem in town is low-impact design credits. People were using low-impact design, and it happened to Ray White on Middle Road, because a lot of his design was low-impact, but our stormwater regulation that we have doesn't allow it to be considered. So he had to redo some of his plans and got a bump there. So we are going to accept the low-impact design. It's good for the environment, it's good for the stormwater. The town was in a hurry when they passed their MS4 regulations. They were going to get a penalty. They were years late doing it. So whatever EPA gave them, it went in and it got approved.
Okay.
So,
Is this going to be before the bylaw committee in time to put on the warrant for the Springtown meeting?
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
It'll be turned in on Friday before noon time. That's the deadline to submit bylaw changes. The regulation is something that you folks will actually vote on. We'll put it in the newspaper 14 days before the public hearing. We'll take testimony on it. You folks will vote on it, and will become a regulation 7 days later. It doesn't need town meeting approval or any of those things.
Well, Pat, this moratorium you're talking about on solar fields, is it on existing projects or new projects?
New projects.
New projects.
Yep.
Just proposed at the moment.
We currently have 11 solar fields in the queue, according
Yeah.
to Jim Merritt. I
In the
haven't-
queue.
That are currently, under, they've been received, applications, and
Oh,
they're
okay.
complete, they're in the process,
That's
they
what
have
it
to
is,
be either approved or denied. I saw a MEPA filing today for 540 Rear Main Street, and I'm curious that they triggered MEPA at 2.5 acres, but nobody else has. And I don't know if anybody else has gone through the MEPA process, but we'll see what happens with that. We were, I'll let you get to your next part of your agenda. So that's it for the stormwater.
Okay.
Well, that's not it for stormwater, but that's it for the bylaw. We were expecting Repwell tonight. We had spoken to him at the site visit and told him that we needed to come and give us a date certain when they would be in compliance. And we did get an email from his engineer saying that he couldn't make it. He felt it was short notice. We emailed him yesterday? Day before?
Yeah.
Day before yesterday to let him know that they were on the agenda in case his client didn't tell him. So hadn't heard from anybody, so I went to Repwell today and I met with the owner. And I asked him if he had spoken to an engineer and decided whether he wanted to go through with this and do what was required to be in compliance with the permit. And he feels that he's grandfathered for everything. And he says that he and his engineer have spoken to EPA and that they're waiting to hear back from EPA. And I explained to him that I don't think that he's grandfathered, and our MS4 engineer from Conoco doesn't feel that they're grandfathered for this. But if he does, come to our next meeting, we'll put it on the agenda. He can explain to the commission why they feel they're grandfathered. They can make whatever demonstration they need to make, and we can go from there. And I think that's the best way to resolve that.
Okay.
Deepbrook Estates. I've heard a lot about Deepbrook Estates since I came to work for the town. And somebody finally walked into the office last week from Deepbrook asking me if he was all set. So I inquired as to whether or not he had a stormwater permit, and he said he didn't know, so that tells me that he didn't. I went over to planning and asked planning, can't find any record of them applying for a stormwater permit or being given one. So that's gonna be coming onto the radar screen as a stormwater application. CVE, the final results came in from the phase 2. Their stormwater is not infiltrating. They're gonna need to find a way to get stormwater to infiltrate at the site. And if their basin is gonna become a detention basin and not drain, they're gonna have to fence all of that in, because under the regs, it's not safe to leave it open. They still haven't given all of the documents that Beals and Thomas needs to finish their investigation into the infiltration part. And this has been a problem with CVE, is that they're spoon feeding us documents, waiting to see what the fallout is from each document, rather than just give us the whole picture. So I've suggested to Beals and Thomas that I understand that the stormwater regulations say that you have to have infiltration to the best of your ability. But to the best of your ability doesn't mean you don't want to do it because you don't want to spend money. And this is a multi-million-dollar project over there. And if they have to spend money to get infiltration, then they're going to have to spend money to do it. And it can't just be ignored. There's another problem that some of the panels are in the setback area, and I've seen a letter from the building commissioner ordering them to take down part of the array to be in compliance with that. I came across some information on constructed wetlands. And I had actually proposed a project myself. I wanted to build a wetlands bank on a 300-acre piece of land in a watershed and sell people wetlands reclamation in that watershed that couldn't do it in other towns in that same watershed. And when I heard about the infiltration situation at CVE, I thought that that may be a good idea for their failed basin system, is to have them actually construct a wetland there, so that the stormwater does infiltrate through the wetland and go off-site. That's one way of getting water to infiltrate. It'd be a little bit expensive, but it would work. And I mentioned it to Joanne when I came in the next day, and then I got a phone call that same day from the Buzzards Bay Coalition about the sawmill project. And I had driven by that quite a few times. I just thought it was a little tiny thing in the front, and I thought it was kind of silly that they went to all that trouble, but I got the $10 tour, and it's really a nice project. That's incredible over there.
That's a big piece of property.
They did a really nice job.
Yeah.
And they have a constructed wetland on the other side of that fishway. So I talked to them about it, and I like the idea of that for these infiltration problems. And I was thinking the same thing at Keating, that when they move that stuff out of the buffer zone, because they've taken all of the soil off of the site and there is no infiltration, that we should have them build a constructed wetland in the buffer zone to pick up infiltration and pick up all of that water that's flowing backwards into the wetlands and into the priority habitat. Their stormwater plan says everything goes to the quarry, but you saw that it doesn't. So I think that's a good idea to get some infiltration. They discharge on an average, when they're pumping, of 19 million gallons a month to the Acushnet River. And when I talked to Sarah from Buzzards Bay Coalition, she almost fell over that it was 19 million gallons. That's a lot.
It's a lot of dilution of brackish water.
But it could be temperature problems. They've had pH exceedances in their reporting. So if you're increasing the pH to the Acushnet River, that's not a good thing. Conoco has been doing third-party testing of their discharge for the last almost a year, and it's been fine, but they haven't been operating the quarry. So turbidity's low, all of those things are down. Once the quarry comes back online, it might be a whole different story. So I like the idea of the constructed wetland thing, especially after seeing it at the sawmill. They did it, it works. And if the Buzzards Bay Coalition could afford to
That was
do
a
it.
great big giant cement pad at one time over there.
I saw the pictures of the sawmill and the lumberyard, and I talked to Christian D'Souza, and he worked over there as a kid. So, very impressive project. You're lucky that they did that in your town. Yeah. What else did we have? Other than Joanne going out for a little bit.
Just trying to wrap stuff up.
Yeah, we've started collecting stormwater fees. The accounts are all set up for that. That money's going in. Everything's good.
Good.
And we don't have to wear masks.
It's nice.
For a while anyway.
I'm done.
Anyone out in the audience have anything that they'd like to talk to us about?
Were you folks here when we talked about Keating? Because I know that's why you're here.
Yeah, I think they came after, yeah.
So they called and asked for a 2-week extension to come back and see us and present their plan, if they're gonna present one, to move the silt pile.
Are you guys agreeing to that?
I did,
Okay,
yeah.
which I think is a good thing.
They, they asked to work it out, we're trying to work it out, but it has to come to a point, so.
Is this the last speeding of the rope, so to speak, Pat, with them? Is this 2-week extension and we move forward?
That's my recommendation to the
Okay.
commission.
I just think we've played with them long enough. Hopefully they agree to, remove that, those silt piles before we go into full-blown summer, which I think is a great idea. I wish it would happen sooner than later, so we can enjoy our summer peacefully here in the town. But it's what it is. As long as they're willing to do their part and clean up their mess that they made, take care of the wetlands that they've destroyed, do the appropriate plantings on the site that's required, and, we move forward and, see where we go as far as them trying to either reopen or partially operate, whatever the case may be, and really keep a close eye on this.
So, something I should mention is, after we met with them, I talked to town council and I talked to Selectman DeRoche. The town's involved in some stipulations in court with PJ Keating. And Keating has to abide by the stipulations. And one of the stipulations is that any new stockpiles or any new stockpiling has to be approved by the town, not the Conservation Commission. So the Conservation Commission is not the town, I guess is what I should say. And I was concerned that they would come in, make a proposal to move the silt pile to the other side of the silt pile. And that would need to be required to be approved by the selectmen. And the Keating would come back and say, well, the Conservation Commission approved it and they're the town. So, we want to put it there. So I'm trying to arrange a meeting with the town administrator and the selectmen and the Board of Health chairs and department heads, so that we can all be on the same page and know that everybody's in agreement as to where this material is going that gets removed from the buffer zone. So that you don't agree to an order that doesn't jive with the court stuff. It would be nice to have everybody all on the same page. And it's been a source of frustration for Keating too, that one board approves something, but another board has a different regulation or requirement. So it needs to be in sync with the stipulations, and things should go smoothly from there. So there was a little bit of a hitch to that.
Yeah. So Pat, do we have anything, either verbal or in writing with them is in regards to those shingles that are on site as well, that are in the abundance?
So that's a solid waste situation. It is a violation of the solid waste regs. It's a Board of Health issue. And I can follow up with you that.
Do we have any type of order on them as far as like the removal or the remediation of any of this?
The Board of Health, I issued some violation notices on that, and they say they're not in violation, and that's what they say with everything. But I can talk to you about outside of this meeting, because this is conservation. But I'll be glad to talk to you after this about
Okay.
that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything you'd like to talk about?
No, at this point.
If not,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for showing up, folks.